Hi, everyone. I'm Steve here with the Gut Girl, Nicole. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so we're going to talk about antibiotics. People who are really into functional health, holistic health, they kind of have a dilemma here, you know, because, would you say, and this is kind of an off the wall question, but would you say that an antibiotic could potentially save someone's life?
Sure.
Okay. But are antibiotics something that we should be taking willy-nilly? Like, for instance, I don't know if I told you this, but when you go to the dentist and they always give you the antibiotics beforehand, you're going to have a tooth. I never take the antibiotics. Why would I take something if I don't know if I need them? So talk to us about antibiotics, what they do. Because yes, an antibiotic could save someone's life. I heard if George Washington had antibiotics, he would have lived. I've heard that story.
hmm
Um, but tell us what you think.
So I'm always a firm believer that there's a time and place for everything. And one of the things, and makes no exception for antibiotics. One of the things that I do when somebody first comes to me is I do an intake form together so that some people forget things if they do it on their own. So we do an intake form and I go through their medical history. And that is a good setup for how what I'm thinking is going on in their gut. Because if somebody comes in and they've had antibiotics tons of times, every time they were sick, they were given an antibiotic and taken that antibiotic. Every time they've had dental work done and say they have a terrible mouth, they take an antibiotic. I can guarantee you probably 95% of the time when I do a stool test on them to see what is going on with their bacteria, whether it be good or bad, or they have parasites, or they have worms, or anything like that, I can tell you who's coming out better than the other. Whenever you have an antibiotic use and overuse of antibiotics, it always strips the microbiome of good bacteria. So what does that do is it brings in and lets in bad bacteria or parasites or worms. It is almost guaranteed that I see in a stool test if someone has had an overuse of antibiotics that they are going to have SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, because exactly that has happened. They've stripped down their good bacteria and now let everything else come into play. So now they have burping, they have upset stomach, they have diarrhea or constipation. So all of that needs to be taken into account. You know, when I was a child, they always used to tell my mom, well, she'll become resistant. So we don't want to give her a lot of antibiotics. That's not all that's there, is just becoming resistant to antibiotics. You want it to work if you're going to use it, but you also don't want it to wipe your good bacteria out.
Yeah, and of course, everyone has to talk to their doctor and make your own decision.
Mhm.
Talk to the doctor, find out the pros and the cons, and then you have to be part of this decision. I think people just do whatever they're told too quickly
Yes.
instead of finding out and things that they need to find out and asking questions. For me, I try to do everything naturally. My mom wouldn't give us an aspirin, and I'm like, but mommy, my head fell off. It's over there. Okay, you can have a half a one.
Yes.
You can have a half a aspirin. So that was just kind of, and I don't know if she had a philosophy why, but that's just how she was. It wasn't food. So, um, and all the medications and things that I've had throughout my life since I was a baby have been very minimal.
Right. Right.
very minimal. And my health has been great. So I just think it's important for people to really talk to their doctors, maybe get another opinion, and tell them, your situation. But for me, I just don't see. I mean, what do you think? If you're going to go to the dentist, why start taking the antibiotics before you even get to the dentist?
Right. And I just also think that you should also do a little bit of due diligence into what's this going to cause? How do I always, when I'm taking something, I always ask, what's this going to cause and how do I prevent that if I have to take this? So you should always be taking a probiotic when you're taking an antibiotic. You should never stay on one strain of probiotics for more than 90 days. You should always be switching those probiotics up to a different strain, or you're again leading into a problem of growing bad bacteria. So I think we have to become a society where we're better at looking into what we're doing to ourselves.
That's a great insight. That's why they call you the gut girl, right?
That's right.
So I'll give you a chance. Any last thoughts on this?
That's it. Just know what you're taking.
Okay, so if you're watching the channel, you know that Nicole will give you $100 off, right? If you want to find out more, and if you choose to do her program, she specializes in the gut, hormones, and nutrition. What's your background, your degree?
I have a master's. I have a master's in the program from NTI, which is a school in Colorado, and it's it's very detailed. I went through 4 years of schooling, and I got to know the insides of the body and also different testings and all that kind of stuff. So I come very well versed.
Okay, so if they want to get a hold of you and find out more, how do they do that? How do they follow you on social media, and how do they get a hold of you?
Almost, you can get me on all social media of the Gut Girl NV, and you can reach me at the email of the Gut Girl, the Gut Girl one at gmail.com.
Okay, Nicole, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.